Trading IPOs are one of the last places retail traders still find an edge because price discovery is chaotic, emotional, and inefficient. For more than 15 years in the markets, making over $100 million in verified trading profits, here are the 4 main strategies I use to trade IPOs on the day they open for trading. And by the way, I used these strategies to trade Circle and Figma, which were 2 of my best trades last year. So let's start with the basics, then get into my IPO strategies, because there is a lot that retail traders overlook about the structure and behavior of IPOs. An IPO stands for Initial Public Offering. This is when a private company sells shares to the public for the first time and begins trading on a stock exchange like the NYSE or NASDAQ. Before that moment, the company's shares are owned by insiders, founders, employees, venture capital firms, and private investors. When a company decides to go public, investment banks step in to underwrite the deal. Their job is to determine a valuation, set an IPO price, and distribute shares to institutional clients like hedge funds. This is where things get interesting. When you hear that a company is pricing their IPO at $30 per share, most beginner traders assume that means the stock will open around $30. That is almost never what actually happens. The IPO price is simply the price that institutions pay in the offering. But those shares don't immediately trade on the open market. Instead, the exchange waits until enough buy and sell orders build up to establish the first trade in a rough price equilibrium. That's why IPOs often open far above their official IPO price, sometimes, as we'll see, way above. You can see a company priced at $30, open at $55 or $70 or even higher. That gap exists because demand exceeded supply, which leads us to the concept of oversubscribed versus undersubscribed IPOs. An oversubscribed IPO means there were far more buyers than shares available. Institutional funds all want allocations, hedge funds want in, long-only funds want exposure, and everyone is left scrambling for a piece of what ends up being a small limited deal. When that happens, demand spills over into the open market and the stock often opens significantly higher than the IPO price. An undersubscribed IPO is the opposite. Demand is weak, institutions aren't fighting for shares, maybe the valuation is too high, or maybe the company isn't exciting. Or maybe it's just the overall market environment isn't great for an IPO. In those cases, the stock can open near or even below its IPO price, and those are usually much harder trades. Now this brings up one of the most common questions beginners have. Why do IPOs tend to have such a big pop on day one? So there's a few structural reasons, and this trend is very much real and backed by data. First, investment banks intentionally price IPOs slightly below what they believe the market will pay. This practice is known as IPO underpricing. Banks do this because their job isn't just to sell shares. It's to make sure the deal is successful. A strong first-day performance makes institutional clients happy, it makes the company look good, and helps the bank secure future deals. In other words, they would rather leave a little money on the table than risk the IPO failing. Second, supply is extremely constrained on day one. Only a small portion of the company's total shares are actually available for trading. Meanwhile, demand can be massive from institutions, hedge funds, and retail traders who were not able to get an allocation. That imbalance between limited supply and overwhelming demand is what creates the initial surge. And like I said, the data backs this up. Historically, IPOs have produced significant average first-day gains. Over the past few decades in the US, the average first-day return has been roughly 15 to 20%. In hotter markets, it can be much, much higher. During the 2020 to 2021 bull market, following the COVID panic, the average IPO pop was close to 30 to 40% on the first day due to the prevalence of market euphoria. Of course, those are averages. Some IPOs explode much more than that, while others barely move at all. Another huge factor that determines how explosive an IPO will be is the float. Float is the number of shares that are actually available for trading. In many IPOs, the float is tiny relative to demand. The company might be worth billions of dollars on paper, but only a small portion of shares are actually released to the public at first. That tight supply creates an environment where price can move extremely fast. Sector matters too. Markets trade on narratives, especially hot IPOs. So when a hot sector is in favor, like AI, crypto infrastructure, electric vehicles, or fintech, money often floods into anything even loosely related to that theme. If an IPO launches into a hot sector during a strong market environment, the probability of a large move increases dramatically. You saw this last year with companies like Circle and Figma, and these were some of my best trades last year, which I'm going to get into. But it's worth keeping in mind that both Circle and Figma launched into extremely bullish environments where investors were hungry for growth and tech exposure. When the market is in that type of risk-on mood, IPOs can trade like absolute rockets. But when markets are choppy or bearish, IPOs tend to struggle because market participants are far more conservative with how much money they want in markets. Most of 2026 so far has been pretty quiet on the IPO front as some of the AI hype has slowed. But we'll see what happens now that SpaceX has filed the IPO. Before I show you my strategies and examples, let's talk about lockups, because this is another piece that many new traders misunderstand. When a company goes public, insiders are typically restricted from selling their shares for a period of time. This is known as the lockup period, and it usually lasts around 90 to 100 days. Most often, it's 6 months or the 180 days. It tends to apply to founders, employees, early venture capital investors, institutional backers, and similar firms like that. The purpose of the lockup is to prevent early investors from immediately dumping their shares into the market. Imagine if venture capital funds could instantly sell billions of dollars worth of stock the moment a company is listed and opening for trading. The price would collapse instantly. So during the lockup period, the float is artificially restricted. Only the shares sold in the IPO are actively trading. When the lockup expires, suddenly a massive number of additional shares can hit the market. That increase in supply can create significant downward pressure on the stock, which is why lockup expirations are something traders like myself watch very closely. All right, now that you understand how IPOs work structurally, let's talk about how I actually trade them. There are 4 main strategies I focus on. The first is the opening drive. This is one of the most powerful patterns in IPO trading because the market is still discovering the correct price. When a new listing opens for trading, there's often a massive imbalance between buyers and sellers. If demand overwhelms supply, the stock can trend aggressively in one direction for the first 10 to 30 minutes. What I'm watching for here is strong relative volume, aggressive bids stepping up, and price holding above the opening range. If the stock opens and immediately starts grinding higher with shallow pullbacks, that's often the opening drive. These moves can be incredibly powerful because there is no overhead resistance. The stock has never traded before, so there are no trapped longs waiting to sell. The opening drive is essentially a scalping play at its core. If you want to get better at executing these fast momentum moves, I break down my full scalping strategy in this video. The link's in the description. The second strategy is the counter drive. Not every IPO goes straight up and never pulls back. In fact, some of the best trades happen after that initial opening drive exhausts itself. If a stock opens extremely hot and rips vertically, eventually buyers get tired. Early longs start taking profits, momentum traders exit, and the stock begins to fade. That first real pullback can create an opportunity for a counter trend trade. This requires experience because you're stepping against the dominant momentum. I'm looking for exhaustion signals, failed pushes to new highs, heavy selling into strength, or a break of intraday support or break of prior bar lows. When that happens, the unwind can be fast because momentum traders all rush for the exit at the same time. The third strategy I employ is the later day breakout. Many IPOs will have that strong opening drive and then consolidate for hours. During that consolidation, the market is essentially deciding where the next leg should go. If the stock builds a tight base and then breaks above that range with strong volume, that breakout can lead to another powerful leg higher. Again, the key advantage with IPOs is the lack of historical resistance. When we break to new highs in a stock that is only traded for a few hours, there aren't many natural sellers left, and there's so many people that are often scrambling to buy. That's why breakouts in strong IPOs can run much further than people expect. The fourth trading strategy is overnight momentum. This one is simple but incredibly effective during hot markets. If an IPO closes near the highs of the day with strong momentum and heavy volume, and especially if it did strategy 3, that midday breakout, there's a good chance that excitement and that urgency to build into a position carries into the next morning. News spreads, social media picks it up, and retail traders get even more hyped about the ticker overnight. And suddenly you have a fresh wave of new demand at the next open. This strategy works best when the broader market is bullish and the IPO is already a popular name. So let's dive into a couple quick examples from 2025, notably Circle and Figma. Circle is a stablecoin crypto company that IPO'd on June 5th of 2025. The stock had priced its IPO at $31. was oversubscribed and we were in a really hot market. We ended up opening for trading at $69, and just the fact that we opened so far above the pricing is actually, and counterintuitively, a huge sign of bullishness. We made an opening drive which held prior bar lows on the intraday chart, then sure enough had our counter trend pullback once we turned. That's both strategy 1 and strategy 2. This Circle IPO didn't break out later in the day, so I wouldn't have deployed strategy 3 or 4 here. Next up, we have the Figma IPO, which came shortly after the Circle one, while shares of Circle were still exploding higher. The Figma IPO occurred on July 31st, 2025, and it priced at $33, yet opened at a whopping $85 per share. I can guarantee you that a huge portion of that excitement was because the most recent hot IPO, Circle, was still up hundreds of percent from its pricing and where it opened for trading. In other words, we were in an extremely hot market where this stuff works well. Figma opened for trading, made the same strong opening drive that we discussed in strategy 1. It had a very mild pullback given its incredible strength, so strategy 2 wasn't so effective. Maybe you take a small loss, which is fine. But then after consolidating for a while, we break out. Getting long the breakout above $112.50, strategy 3 was awesome. And given the strength into the close, this was a prime candidate for strategy 4, staying long after hours to catch the overnight momentum. Sure enough, it worked out very well. For similar examples, it's worth looking at charts of other big name IPOs. Check out the IPO from the semiconductor ARM, for example. This brings us back to the most important point about IPO trading. Market environment matters more than almost anything else. IPOs thrive in hyper bullish markets because investors are willing to take a risk. When liquidity is abundant and traders are chasing momentum, new listings can become really speculative, amazing opportunities. When markets are defensive and fearful, the same IPO might struggle to hold its opening price. So if you're gonna trade IPOs, you want 3 things aligned: a hot sector, a tight float, and a bullish market backdrop. When those 3 factors line up, the moves can be extraordinary. But remember, these stocks are also extremely volatile. Risk management is everything. Position sizing, stops, and your discipline matter. Even more when you're dealing with brand new listings that can swing 20 or 30% in minutes. One other thing to add. For trading IPOs, especially right as they open for trading, reading the tape is critical to notice the nuances of big buyers or sellers. I spent dozens of hours researching and dissecting a lot of these IPO trades so that you don't have to. So instead of trying to figure it all out from scratch, you're able to study the exact price action that produced some of the biggest IPO moves we've seen in modern markets. All this will be inside a dedicated section of my trading course where I go much deeper on IPO trading. So if you want to know how I focus on reading the tape or want a deeper dive into how I go about trading these IPO strategies, there's a link to join in the description. In the IPO section of the course, I'm going to break down the exact playbook I use and analyze the hottest IPO charts of the last decade, so you can see how these patterns repeat over and over again. Thank you for watching, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.